Hi everyone, welcome back again here in this Apex Trigger series. In earlier session, we learned about some basic concept of Salesforce triggers, what, why, and how. In this tutorial, what we are going to learn is we will learn what are all the context variable available in Salesforce Apex Trigger and how we can took the most of use for all of the variables while we are working with the triggers and what all context variable are benefit while we are writing some apex trigger and how we can write good piece of apex code. So today's agenda is we will see what are all the context variable. We will see the explanation. We will learn when and how those variables are available, and then we will at the end of this tutorial we will see how to do this. Like we will see the practical example of all the context variable with the help of a sample trigger. So let's start with the context variable introduction. So what are all the context variable and triggers? Whenever you listen some word called context variable and trigger, what are all there? So every variable that is available in a trigger execution and that we can call with the word itself, so trigger dot, that is known as context variable. It is same as we are calling a static variable within its name with the help of a class. Like let's say that there is a class named abc and there is a variable, static variable inside that is named as xyz. So we can reference the variable with its name only, that will be abc dot xyz. So this is the context variable are same. Trigger is a class and inside that we have a different variables, we have different context variables. So there are total 13 context variable. So as you can see, is insert, update, delete, undelete, executing, before, after, new, old, new map, old map, size, and operation type. So how these variables are going to help you in a trigger and when you can use all of this. So let's go ahead and learn for each and every context variable one by one. So you can see first thing is trigger dot executing. So what it will do, like what is the exact purpose, what it does, it does returns true if any particular piece of code is executing because of the apex trigger. Let's say that we have a piece of code. For a simple example, we put a system.debug and inside that we have put some static statement. If that particular debug statement is running because of trigger, that particular statement has been executed or has been called from a trigger and then that particular statement is executing. There if you will try to find trigger dot executing, you will get return as true because that particular piece of code has been executed by the trigger. And then if we talk about is insert, so what it does return true if a particular trigger is running in an insert event. It is either before insert or after insert. Same follows with the update, delete, and undelete. If you are if you are updating a record and your trigger has been developed on an event before update or after update, and you are trying to find trigger dot is update, it will return true because that particular trigger is triggered because of a record update. Same with the delete and undelete. And now if we comes on number 6, that is before. When is before and is after? So is before returns true if a particular trigger is running on before operation. That might be before insert, before update, or before delete. And then if you say about after, is after will return true if the trigger is running on some after events like after insert, after update, after undelete, and after delete. So we will see the use of each and every context variable just later on this session. And trigger.new. Trigger.new, we already discussed a few concepts about trigger.new in our earlier session. Trigger.new does returns the list of the new version of list of S object. Either the records are being inserted or the records are being updated. And The other thing is that if the records are being undeleted from the recycle bin, trigger.new we will only get in case of three three executions, that might be insert, update, or undelete. Why we will not get in case of delete? The reason is that we are not making any changes to the existing record, or we are not inserting new record to the database. In case of delete, we are just deleting the old records from the database. This is why we are not getting trigger.new in case of delete operation. And when we talk about trigger.old, it does returns the old version of a subject list. That means, let's say that we are updating some records, the name of record, we have an account called ABC, and we are updating the record to XYZ, the name of that record. So in trigger.old, for the name field we will get ABC, and in trigger.new for the name field we will get XYZ, and we will only get this context variable in case of update and delete operation. For in case of insert, we don't have any trigger.old, and the reason is that we are not making any changes to the existing records in case of trigger.new. And then size does returns the total size of trigger, whatever the current size of that particular trigger is. Next we have new map and old map. So what first we'll see what is the structure of new map. So the structure of new map is id in a key and the whole subject record as a value. So what does returns trigger.new map? It does returns the map of id and the new version as object records, and you will get in case of before update, after insert, after update, and after undelete. We will not get in case of before insert. And why? Because trigger.new map states that it will always contains the id of the record and then the new version of its object. That means in case of before insert, we don't have the id of that particular record because the record has not been inserted into the database and still needs to be inserted, and after insert only we can get the record id, because record id will get generated after that. And when we say that old map contains the id and the old version of a subject, and we will get in case of update and delete. And the same process applies as a trigger.old for the trigger.old map. And operation type does returns the enumeration, and it is a return type of system.trigger operation. So we will learn more about this whenever we are working on this operation type and calling the apex class from a trigger to perform some various operations. So here at this point, this is a return type of trigger operations, where it just contains all name of all the operations before insert, after insert, before update, after update, before delete, after delete, after undelete. And we can use the switch operation. You can use the switch keyword to call the different handlers methods on different events. So I will explain you why this particular thing has came into the picture, because this was the part of recently released, and how it does help improving the trigger pattern on, and how it does help us to write the trigger in a faster way. So first let's go ahead before we go ahead to the practical part, we go ahead and apply all the concept that we learned. I will just show you some basic things about old map and trigger.new that we discuss. So we discussed about trigger.new. It does contains the new version of its objects, and then trigger.old, old version of its object. So when we say that old version of its object, first thing that we will get in case of update and delete only. So when we talk about old version of a subject, what does exactly that mean? It does mean, let's say for example, we have a record account name ABC, and it has some name is ABC, and it has industry, education, and now we are updating that record industry. We are updating the industry record industry field of that record. Industry to technology. So what it will do in case of trigger dot new, it will contains, let me write down here separately. Trigger dot new contain will contain, it will contains name as ABC and industry as technology. And in case of trigger dot new, sorry, trigger dot old, it will contain name as ABC and then industry as education, because this was the previous value for the particular record for that record, and then to the industry field. So when we talk about trigger dot old, that means whatever the old value for that, before changing the value, before updating any record, what was the prior value for that particular field, it will contains that. If let's say that if you have another field here that is active and it was true, and we are also making here changes on the active and making as false. So here it will be active as a false in case of trigger dot new, and here in case of trigger dot old, it will be active as a true because the prior value of active field was true. So in case of trigger dot new, we will get like this, and same thing will be in case of trigger dot old map. The only thing is that the structure of that trigger map, that is id and s object. So here in this id you will get the record id. Id will be the record id, and then s object, this will be the record, complete record, complete record, associated to the key, that is record id. And then we can compare if the old value has been changed from the new value is the old value is different from new value, we can put our logic there. So this was the basic that I wanted to show you all, so that you can get the better understanding what trigger dot new and trigger dot old. And then now let's go ahead and do the implementation part. Trigger a basic simple sample trigger on any object. So I'd like to go to the account, and here I will name it as account trigger, and we will use all those context variable here, whatever we saw here. So I will say account trigger, and then I will put all the context variable over here. Okay, so I have put in all the events over here, and from before to after for each and every event, each and every DML. So now what I'm going to do is I will just put the debug for each and every statement here. So let's say that system.debug. First I will put for before events. When we said that before events, that means whenever we are inserting a record it now. These will be what are all the context variable for before. So let's say that trigger new, and we will say that trigger dot new, and same thing we'll do for all. It will be old map, and it will be new map. These are the variables for before, and then we can use for after as well. These are the four context variable that will be like that we will be playing around with. But before that, we also discuss about some is before and is after. So we can use here, we can put some if condition over here. We can say if trigger dot is before, then only print this debug to the, like then only execute these of lines, and then put another else if, say if trigger dot is after, then only execute these 5 lines. So what we did, sorry, here it is, number 4. Okay, so what we did here, we did we put a check here. If the trigger is running on before context, we are not making any check, either it is update or delete, insert or undelete. Oh, sorry, and there is no before for undelete. So if you are, it is just checking if it is before, then go ahead and print these 5 lines, and then it is checking on the else condition. If it is after, then go ahead and print these 5 lines. And now we saw that we also have some few more context variable that are is insert, is update, is delete, is undelete. So what how they will work. So let's say that we have some piece of code that we only wanted to execute in case of before insert. So how we will do, so how you will identify like which condition you need to put before and then which condition you need to put after. So there is no rocket science for that. Only thing that you need to remember is just go to your event, see which particular word is there before. That means you need to always check for that particular thing. Trigger dot is before because you wanted to check before insert, and then check for if trigger dot is insert. So what it will do, whatever you will put here inside this particular, this particular line will only be executed if the trigger is running on before insert of account record. We are inserting an account record. Before insert will get executed, it will check either it is before trigger dot insert is insert, then only it will execute this line. After that, you can also put some other conditions here. Let's say that you wanted to do some for update operation. You can put here for each update. You can check if trigger is executing before context, then check which particular event is being executed. Like either it is update or delete, or what is it is undelete, and then you can also make one more condition, that is before delete. So here you can put all those conditions inside this before. And why I'm making this kind of statements, like you should check for before and then you should check for insert, because if you check for trigger.isInsert first, and then you will check. Let's type those statements over here as well. So now you are checking for trigger.isInsert over here. So this particular line will do, it will uh, this particular condition will true for always for any kind of insert operation, either it is before insert or after insert. Let's say that you put this here in case of before insert, and now sorry, you put this here in case of insert, and now you are trying to access this particular trigger.new map. I'm not going anywhere in the deep. You are trying to access this trigger.new map, and then you are saying that and then after you are trying to get some, well, here let's say that you are trying to get first record trigger dot new, and then you are saying that 0 here. So what you are trying to do is here, sorry, so what it will do, if you are trying to reference this particular trigger dot new map, uh, then it will throw you a null pointer exception here. So it's always a best practice to check for the before or after event first, and then inside that you need to put your condition, in which particular condition you wanted to execute that particular piece of code. If there are some reusable code, you can put that reusable code inside some different Apex handler class, and from there you can, from Apex class, you can call your, and same you can do here for the after. Here you can do for after events as well. You just need to change before to after. And one thing that the one context variable that we miss, there are actually we missed two context variable, that is size and the other one is operation type. So we will see the operation type in next in advanced triggers, when we are working on the advanced trigger and we're trying to implement some advanced Apex trigger pattern. So here these are all the context variable that whatever we learn and we saw here. So now what we'll do, uh, I will just give you a brief overview about debug log, how you can set a debug log for a particular user, and how you can see the debug for a whatever you have put inside of system.debug. So to set a debug log, what you need to do is type debug log in quick search, and then open that debug log inside logs, and then here you will see a new button inside user trace flags. Just click next to that. You can select here either user, Apex class, a trigger. Here even you can say automated process. Automated process does means you are making any changes with the help of uh, flow, with the help of your particular process builder or any other automated process that doesn't interaction, that doesn't make any interacts with the user. And then you can select for a particular user, you can track a particular everything, each and every whatever a particular user is doing. If you are selecting a user here, even you can select Apex class if you wanted to track for a particular Apex class. If you wanted to see the debug log for a particular Apex class, you can select Apex class. And if you wanted to check for a particular Apex trigger, you can select that here. So I'm going to set a debug log a trace flag for me. So click on that particular lookup icon and select here my name is Amit Singh, and the log will be open only for 24 hours. So you just need to click on this particular time frame, and then select on this, and then click here in the input and select just next date. And then for the debug log, click on lookup icon, and you will see SFDC underscore dev console. Select that and click on save. After you will click on save, it will generate the debug log for you. And if you wanted to see you will see this is the one that we did, that I just did turn down for me. Sorry. Yep, these are the two. Okay, so now let's go ahead and first we will start from creating an apex trigger, creating an sample account, and we will see before insert and after insert debug logs. So let me say that I will create Salesforce headquarters, and I'll just click on save. So now to see the debug log, again go back to your window where you set the debug log, just click on refresh, and here you will see, and you will also see what operation was there. This particular link does means 001 is the key prefix of account. If you see, the account ID will always start with 001, and then E does means either a new record has been created or edited. So just open this particular debug log in a new window, or you can open in the same frame as well. And here to find your debug logs, you can just type control F user underscore debug. So you will get all the debugs whatever you have put there. So you will see here we put the size, that is 1, because we have only inserted one records, and then we are seeing that I'm inside before insert, and it is saying that before events, and inside trigger.new we have, but we didn't have any ID because in case of before insert we will not get ID. And then trigger.old is null, old map is also null, and new map is null. And now if you scroll down, you will see code unit finished in case of before insert, and then it again code unit started in case of, if you see, after event, after insert. So for that, if you see those four debugs in case of after, we are getting size as a 1 as usual. We are getting the events, you are getting a debug called after events, and then in case of our trigger.new, now we have that ID, and then we have in case of new map we also have that new map. So this is a proof of our concept that we can't get trigger.new map, trigger.old, and trigger.old map in case of before insert event, but we will definitely get trigger.new map in case of after insert event. Now let's delete this debug, and we will update that particular account record, and now we should be able to see all four context variable, new, old map, and new map in case of either of the events, either it is before or after. So let's save it, go back to our developer console window, click on refresh button. Sorry, it's a debug log window. Open this, and now here do the same process, find for user underscore debug. You can see one here, I'm inside before update, and here now we can find new, old map, and new map. Now if you wanted to see the difference, let me copy these lines in notepad, and I will show you the difference. So these are the trigger.new, and from here to here, and if what fields we did make, I think I made the type, I changes in the type. So you can see there are uh, in the trigger.new we have channel partner reseller that we did make changes in, but in case of trigger.old we don't have. Why? Because the prior value was null for that particular field. And then we also made some changes in some other field. What was that? Let me find. Let me find here from the record. So we made changes in industry field. So if you go to our notepad and find for industry, yep, here you can see industry is here, that we have the value and as a energy in case of new, because we changed to new from null, and here in industry is null. So this is you can see that trigger dot old and new, how this trigger dot new contains the new version of this object and trigger dot old contains the old version of this object. Now let's go ahead, be sure about our other trigger dot old in case of delete. So let's go ahead and delete this particular record. Okay, why it is saying that attempt to dereference a null object before delete. Oh, what was that? Account trigger line number 5. Okay, so it is saying that in case of before delete, okay, you can see in case of before delete we are trying to check the size of new. In case of before delete we will never get triggered at new, so what we'll do, we'll just put here in case of insert. So now let's go back to our record and delete this. So if we'll delete now, we will be able to delete that. And now if we go back to our debug log window, we will see this was the success delete. So open this and delete all this. So here find again user debug. You can see that we are before trigger, before events trigger.new is null, we will not get. We will get trigger.old and old map with the same values. There is no different. I think there is no different. Yeah. And then in case of after we'll also get trigger.old and old map. So we will not get trigger.new and trigger.new map in case of old. So the statements holds remains true whatever I told you. And the next thing that we need to test is go back to our recycle bin, undelete that record and see if we are able to see the before events or not. We will not, because there is only after undelete event. So go back here in the Salesforce HQ and select this and undelete. We'll definitely get some debug logs, but we will not be able to get the before events log. So here even you can see that the debug log is very less. And even if we are here in the after event, we will get trigger.new and new map. So this is how all the context variable works and how we can see that when all these context variables are available and when we can make changes on those. So in case of before insert and before update, we talk about trigger.new. We are talking about trigger.new. We can only update trigger.new in case of before insert and before update. If we talk about like if you try to make changes on trigger.new in case of after update or after insert, we will get an error called record is read only. So let me show you this one so that it can be clear for you. Let's say that in case of after update, I'm trying to make changes. I'm just putting some random text here. Now go back, open your record that we created, try to update, change rating to what, save it. You will see record is read only. This is why, because the record has been committed into a database and it is in a process of commit. So we cannot make changes. Even if there is any need, we have to make change. So what you can do, you have to query those particular records and then after you can update those records. So this is how you can do that. You can work on this. Now if you wanted to, if you will do this same for before insert or before update, here if you do here before insert that we also saw earlier, put here, let's say that insert and update. So now if you will try to update that account, what it will do, it will change the name. Sorry, we will still get the error because we haven't changed those lines. So let's go there and remove these lines. Now save our trigger. Now if you try to save it, it will get saved and change the name of the account record, account update name update. And if you try to insert a new account here, it will change the name, update name, insert, anything you can select. You will see it is changing to the insert. So this is why. Now I have compiled some questions that can be asked that you might be thinking about. So we already did this magic. We already saw how and where we can get all context variable. And then these are all the questions. So what is the maximum size of trigger.new, trigger.old, old map, or trigger.new map? So in a single chunk, we can only process 200 records. So if we have more than 200 records that we are performing a bulk operation over a particular object, those records will get executed in a chunk of 200. So let's say that if we have 10,000 records and those records are being asserted or inserted on a count object, and there is a trigger which is taking place on after insert of a count object, what it will do, it will immediately count 10,000 divided by 200, whatever it will come, the trigger will execute it the number of that time. And then other question is what are context variable? We already discussed about that. Context variable or the variables that we can access with the trigger dot with the notation trigger dot and then the name of the variables. Trigger is a class, and then is whatever all the context variable we discussed or the static variables inside that class. And then we also saw this case, what if I try to access trigger.new map in before insert event? So yeah, you will definitely able to save your class, definitely able to save your trigger, but you will not be able to reference the any variable or any particular record of trigger.new map because trigger.new map will be null in case of before insert. Next is what does trigger.old map returns? So we already discussed and we also saw a working example for trigger.old and old map. It does returns the ID and the old version of S object for a particular record. Those are being those are being updated or deleted. So I already also mentioned a example over here. If you are making changing the name of a particular record from ABC to XYZ, trigger.old map will contains ABC for the name field. And then what is the record only error in the trigger? We also saw this uh, here in our example. If you try to update trigger.new in case of after insert or after update, we will get the above error, that is trigger.read only, because trigger.new is read only in case of after events, either it is update or it is insert, and we never get trigger.new in case of after delete. So this is it for the session. Hope you have learned something new. Thank you. See you in the next video.